So I mentioned just now in another video that I have just come back from a retreat, and I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the exercises that we did at that retreat, in part because I have found it hard to record videos here in this last month or so. And some of that was because I was thinking about a topic that I really wanted to talk about, and I just didn't know how to find the words for it. And so as part of the exercises in that retreat, I feel like I came to some words that, and the exercise that I did, it was yesterday, and it's really amazing. I feel like I should have recorded this video right after that, because the clarity that comes when you touch into something sometimes needs to be captured right away, and I didn't capture it right away. So now I'm like reaching back into that feeling to try and talk about what came up for me. And I think I will just name the theme of this video about making mistakes, about not being the person that you want to be, around being human. And so that's where we're headed, just so you know. The exercise that we did was a really seemingly very simple exercise, a mirroring exercise where we were working in partners and we were non-verbally mirroring each other. So bringing up something that we wanted to work with mentally, some issue or some challenge, and then feeling into that, expressing what we were feeling, either this as a sense in our bodies or as an idea and how that lands in the body. So sometimes it doesn't even need to have an idea. Sometimes it can just be a feeling in the body that shows up. And in fact, as we went along in this exercise, it really isn't a conceptual, idea-driven exercise. It's really a feeling and dropping in exercise of just continuing to be with what arises. And it was really incredible, both to be the witness and to be the mirror, as well as to be mirrored in this process. One, it was obviously incredibly vulnerable to sit face to face with somebody else and to express emotion, and then to see that emotion mirrored on another person's face and in their voice. It was facial expression, vocalization, but not words. We weren't explaining, we weren't talking about the story. This was below the level of story. This was more fundamental and driven by the senses and the feelings and the senses in the body. And to have that level of mirroring was so profound. Very, very challenging to do, to be that vulnerable, but also really incredibly profound to experience that. And I found, as was sort of the instruction, to express, to be mirrored, to take that in, because it's incredibly valuable, incredibly unusual to be mirrored that honestly and that truthfully in our world. I don't think we often get that opportunity to really have somebody see us in our wholeness like that. And then to see what comes up next. And a series of emotions came up. So it was really interesting, again, without a story, just this moving from one depth into another of feeling. And there was a point in this really tender dropping in where I felt anger and I didn't realize this until after the exercise. I felt anger, and I asked, oh yeah, what else is here? Like, I didn't want to express the anger. I didn't want that to be part of this tender moment. And it was really interesting because afterwards we finished up, and I went, I realized, like, I actually felt anger at one moment, and I chose not to express that. I kind of went right to, oh, what else is here? And so, I went ahead and expressed the anger, and she mirrored me so that I got that feeling. But one of the things that I realized from that was how I don't have capacity to be with my anger in a way that allows it to express in healthy ways necessarily. And so that comes around to the beginning part of this video, the topic of just making mistakes. And I have found that because I haven't worked with my anger in a way that allows me to express it in healthy ways, sometimes it shows up in unhealthy ways. Sometimes it causes damage in relationships. And anger is not the only thing that I've expressed in my life in ways that have caused a lot of challenge and damage in relationships, and damage to other people, harm to other people I love, sometimes people I don't necessarily know, but who are impacted by my actions. And so that it was just really clear to me after that exercise how some of the suppressing and not acknowledging that I've done in my life of things that maybe I really needed or needed to be seen in have truly expressed in really, really unhealthy ways, and in ways that later I regret. Later I often have really tremendous regret because I really have done some things that have been really harmful and hurtful to other people. And it's been sitting in my mind for like the last couple of months since I started doing these videos, thinking about, like, who am I to talk about anything at all when I am so flawed myself and so human myself. And of course that's sort of silly, because who am I not to talk about the things that I have experienced, because I'm so human and because I've seen myself in action in these ways and recognized that sometimes tremendous unintended harm can come from not understanding how you tick. And I've really been in a place of understanding how I tick and trying to get a better handle on who I am and how I show up in the world and why, over quite a while now, probably the last 10 or 15 years. And it just felt like there was this stumbling block of how could I not talk about making mistakes and being imperfect. And the lovely woman that I was in that practice with, I shared a little bit of this in a really general way, and and her response was, yeah, we're all human, and everybody thinks that they're the only one out there harming and causing upset and regretting their actions. But the truth is, we all have those regrets, and we've all done things that we're not proud of. And it was really helpful to hear that too. So I guess part of the purpose of recording this video is to get that off of my mind, but also to offer that to other people, to say, hey, somebody else out there is human. Somebody else out there has made mistakes in their life and done things that they regret. You're not alone. and I wish for you what I wish for myself, which is, to better understand what it is that drives me and to better be in touch with the places that are unseen in myself so that I can make more conscious decisions about how I respond or how I act. And of course, knowing like I'm still gonna make mistakes and being kind to myself, I guess, when I act in ways that ultimately aren't who I want to be or how I want to show up in the world. Yeah, so I think that's kind of the upshot and what I wanted to say there about that whole topic. And yeah, just to send out to my friends kind of this like, well, a few things. For those people that I have hurt, who probably won't ever see this, but to say, I'm sorry that I did what I did. And also, I totally look back and see why that human being that I was did what I did in those cases. And, I'm a work in progress, just like everybody else. So I hope it helps to hear that for somebody out there, to know that it's okay to be a work in progress. It's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to forgive yourself for making mistakes and being human. I think that's the most important step towards actually loving yourself, is to say you're okay the way you are. Yeah, it doesn't mean that you aren't going to try to do better the next time, but it's okay. So, love you all.